Hello and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh. And as you can see, I am sitting here with two very distinguished gentlemen who are going to be talking with you about this year's blues concert that is going to be held here in Stoughton at the Ahavath Torah Congregation Temple, right on Central Street in Stoughton. And for those of you who are familiar with this blues festival, the one we had last year was really over the top. But I can tell you by the end of the show, and what you hear from these gentlemen who are going to introduce you to some of the performers, this is a show that you do not want to miss. And with the holidays coming up, I cannot think of anything better than to get a couple of tickets to this, wrap them up, and stick them in a stocking. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Stoughton's own Rabbi Hausman and the great performer Vinny Serino, front man for Boston Baked Blues and one of the original founding members of the Boston Blues Society. So Vinny, welcome again.
Thanks, Frank. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, thank you. So Rabbi, it is December. We were here last year talking about the blues show.
Yeah, about a year ago this time.
Just about. So why don't you look right into that camera and let the folks know what's going to happen this year.
Well, on January 16th, we have our 5th annual Winter Blues Festival. Idea started just off the cuff. My daughter had the idea. We put this together, and here we are. Every year, we, as Vinny can tell you, we just seem to up the level of intensity from one notch to the next. And last year's iteration, you know, was a great show.
Unbelievable show.
But this year, we're going from here literally up to here. I mean, we increased the quality of our performers. Really nice, tight set, and you know, we got some acts that are making some national and international news this time. So, Vinny and Boston Baked Blues will be back as an 8-man set this year. We have Lee Hawkins and Lee Hawkins Band coming in, local legends as well.
Yep.
Right. Shorty Billups will be back. Just an incredible performer.
He's a real deal blues man.
Yeah.
Real deal.
He's been on the show, and I just said hello. I introduced him and sat back for 28 and a half minutes and just let him talk.
He didn't have to do anything but put
Let
one
him
of the
talk,
fancy,
you know?
schmancy suits on that he
right.
wears.
He had one of his red suits on,
You know,
and I tell you, if you ever get a
coolest
chance to
dude
have
I
him
know.
sit down and let you know how he taught Ray Charles how to drive.
You know, he's like you watch Shorty Billups. It's like watching Little Ed and the Blue Imperials down in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's just the same style, the same kind of showmanship. We have Aaron Harp and the Delta Swingers coming on.
Unbelievable.
Just a band that's making a lot of noise, winning a lot of regional awards right now.
Yes.
They've been traveling over the country, been overseas for a little bit as well. Nice Delta style kind of blues. Get you up, a lot of swing in there. They'll get you up and dancing.
She's a great voice.
Right.
Great voice
Absolutely.
and a good guitar player, too. I
Yes.
think she's the next female blues lady. of the
Yeah.
Next
blues
Susan
number.
Tedeschi, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Could
Yeah.
very well be.
Yeah.
Could very
Well
well
be.
be.
Next
Could
Susan
very well
Tedeschi.
be. And topping off the show, the big gun, the big draw is probably the world's foremost premier blues harmonica player today, Jason Ritchie. And this guy has just won everything since 2009.
There's nobody like him.
Right, as Vinny said, nobody like him. You know, Paul Butterfield was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Jason Ritchie is the guy who was brought in to play Paul Butterfield's music that night. That's how good this guy is. He's a Howard Levy. He is a Little Walter. He is just doing innovation with the instrument that is just unheard of right now.
Yeah.
And this guy could probably play Bach or Mozart on a harmonica. He's incredible.
Well, when I was listening to him, I had heard a little bit of him in the past, but I did a little bit of research and got some videos for the show today. And what he can do with the harmonica immediately made me think of Hendrix. And I kind of gave a little nickname that he's the Hendrix of the harmonica.
Yeah.
Well, he is completely innovative.
Unbelievable.
Completely.
Yeah, I think he's the most innovative player of the past generation as far as blues goes. I mean, Howard Levy was the guy who come up with all the overblows, overdraws. He is the master.
Yep.
After that, I put Jason Ritchie. I really do. I mean, and I know my instrument. You know, I've been playing a long time.
And you're hearing that from one of the
Best.
great and one of the top 10 probably harmonica players in the world over the last
I
number
have
of
to get
years.
my chops
So
together
that
for
is
this
high
show.
praise.
But you know, that's no lie. I mean, Vinny is one of the greats.
Absolutely.
And what will happen during the show to listen, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But during the show, we'll have the opportunity to hear Jason and Vinny trading licks back and forth. I mean, it's going to be just
You do
really
not want to
something
miss
special.
that, folks.
Really
And just to
something special.
reiterate, and you're going to hear it a number of times on the show today, January 16th, right at the Temple in Stoughton. And by the end of the show,
1179 Central Street
Yep.
in Stoughton.
we're going to be giving you the information by the end of the show. But, you know, I think that it might be time to give the people a little bit of a taste of what went on last year, you know, and, you know, having had the privilege of being there and doing some filming for that show, I can't imagine it getting better, but listening to what you're saying, it's going to get better.
It will be.
It's going to be unbelievable. So, folks, you know, Roxanne Morris, our director, if you're ready to cue up a little taste of what happened last year, you were going to hear the great Vinny Serino.
I nailed that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the great Vinny Serino. And we were just talking about that the show is going to get bigger and better, and we have Jason Ritchie, who is one of the premier. So if he can top that, then you know that this is going to be
I hate
one
to say it,
fantastic
but he
show.
certainly can. It's
Wow.
a privilege to have this man on stage, or be on stage with him.
Wow.
My privilege. He's one of my heroes.
Well, Vinny, it did look that, you know, when watching that, it looked like you had done that once or twice.
I've
So,
done
you
it a few times.
know, once or twice you had done that.
Actually, that was Danny Klein I was playing with from the
I saw that,
Giles
yeah.
band on that. I've played in his band, substituting for Rosie at times, and I get to play all those Magic Dick tunes. I love them.
Well,
he
that's
was
a
my
good-
first ever hero, Magic Dick.
Magic Dick from Jay Giles Band.
And Paul Butterfield and down through the years. You know.
That's as good as it gets. But
Yeah.
Rabbi, I know one of the things that we need to chat a little bit about is that when you put these shows on, you do it for a cause.
Right. There's a hospital in Jerusalem, Aline Hospital. It's Israel's only hospital that focuses solely on pediatric and adolescent holistic orthopedic rehabilitation. The only hospital of its kind in Israel, one of the only hospitals of its kind in the world. And my family's been connected to the hospital for 43 years. And the musicians are very generous with their time, and we raise money, and this is what we do with a lot of the proceeds.
Great.
You know, we're the only hospital in the Middle East that has a swimming pool. So if kids are intubated, they can learn how to swim. We're the only hospital in the world that teaches blind babies how to swim.
Wow.
Very commendable.
And we also have zip lines. So these kids who are wheelchair bound will have the opportunity to experience extreme sports. And if a child has a sibling that's fully ambulatory, there's a parallel zip line so they can go down together.
Wow,
We're
how
the
cool is
only
that?
one in the world with that.
How cool is
So
that?
this is what we do. It's just amazing to get the treatment that we give at the Aline campus, the central campus of Aline in Jerusalem. You would literally have to go to 6 different hospitals in New York City, 5 different hospitals here in Boston.
Wow. Well, that is very commendable. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, not only will you be treated to some out-of-this-world blues music, you will also be helping a good cause. So you've got a twofer going on right there.
Yeah.
So, Rabbi, let's talk about how you put these shows together and how you get these great artists and the time and effort that goes into this. When did you start planning this?
Well, this year's was about 3-4 months ago. 5.
About 4 or 5 months
Yeah,
ago,
4 or
we
5
started
months.
talking. We always start talking
Yeah.
concepts.
Yeah, by the time
every year.
by the time the Marshfield Blues Festivals, the Marshfield
Yeah.
Fair comes on, we're already talking about, okay, what do
Right.
we want to
I
do?
throw
How do we want
names
to
at him,
structure
and he goes, "We can get him. Sure,
Yeah.
don't worry, we'll get him."
it? You know, it's funny, when we first started doing this years ago, and it all started with an idea that my kid had about, let's just have a blues night,
Yeah.
we'll sell out the place. And she was 13 at the time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really taken off from there, and we've really learned a lot as we've gone along.
have.
The first couple, we lost our shirts. I mean, I won't lie to you. But it's become, live venues for blues artists are shrinking incredibly.
They are.
So when we at this point, I don't mean to make it sound as simple as this, but if we breathe word that we're putting something together, it's at the point now where it seems that we're getting calls from acts rather than we're calling acts.
Yes.
We start calling when we want to try to get a much larger name, like a Jerry Portnoy last year,
Yep.
or a Jason Ritchie this year. With Aaron Harp and the Delta Swingers, it was very interesting because we started to talk about this year's event right around that time, and Vinny mentioned, "Have you ever heard of Aaron Harp and the Delta Swingers?" And I laughed. He said, "What's so funny?" I said, "I just heard them yesterday down in Marshfield."
This always happens to us. We're like locked
yin
in
and yang.
mentally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just easy with the contact with Rosie to contact. We used him as the contact. He plays with her. She records with him.
His company, yeah, she's
And-
on Viztone Records,
Right.
his label.
Right. And on top of that, Rosie has played the synagogue.
Yeah.
So it was and he knows very well how we take care of people.
I was just going to say, and one of the things I think you're leaving out in that story is that you two are probably the nicest guys in the business. I mean, I've
he
known
is.
Vinny for a while, and so I think it's a credit to you guys. Just because you put the call out there and people come to you, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to do it for anyone. So I think a lot of credit goes to you and the fact that you do take care of the performers and you do have the credibility that you have, plus the fact that, having been there last year and been behind the scenes, you treated these guys and gals just fantastically. So I think the credit goes to you that
Well,
they want to play for you guys.
I will tell you that from the synagogue's point of view, we're so thankful that these people want to come in.
Yep.
I mean, we're a nothing place in Stoughton. We turn this into a music venue, and you know, in terms of the thanks, they come in from the moment they walk through the door. Can we help you with your equipment? What
Yep.
do you need us to do to set up? We from beginning to end, we feed them, we drink them, we cater to them. We are just we are just from my own
From his own humidor.
from my own humidor. I mean, we're just
well, I have
we're
all the
so
blackmail
appreciative.
tape from last
me
year,
tell you.
so
All I have to do is call Axe up and talk about the Blues Fest because now it's getting a reputation
Yep.
as an event.
Right.
And I say, and the Rabbi Jay take good care of you, and everybody knows. The word is out. He treats
Absolutely.
us. You don't get treated anywhere as well as he treats us.
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
at a venue 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Okay, about 3 weeks ago,
Yep.
and a couple of biggies, and the blues scene here in Greater Boston just came up to me and a little intermission and just said, "How'd you get Jason Ritchie? How did you get Jason Ritchie and Aaron Harp and the Delta Swingers on the same ticket?
Yep.
And can you please remember us next year?"
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And as we
And my response is, "Okay, yes, absolutely."
They didn't
And
say,
as
when
we
you
said
gonna
in
get rid of
last year-
Boston Baked Blues yet?
Well, and this is also serious because we at this particular time, the inner core sits down for a meeting to say, okay, PR we have taken care of, tickets we have taken care of, this, that, and the other. And Vinny came to the meeting
Yeah, it was
and
great.
listening to what's going on, and you know, he now has an inside view. And it really came out amongst the inner group that, you know, in terms of the house band at the synagogue, our house band is Boston Baked Blues. I
Yeah.
mean, and he saw it. I mean, we're very serious about this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We are very serious about our music.
yeah,
Yep,
absolutely,
yep. And
absolutely.
My guys do a wonderful job. They back up some of these guys. I just get them the music. They rehearse on their own. They show up at the show and they play it spot on.
Right on the money.
Do a great job. They're all pros.
And the other piece of this is when Boston Baked Blues, no matter what any of the musicians in Boston Baked Blues are doing, when they find out, when they hear that we're doing something at the synagogue, they rearrange their calendars.
That's
and
right.
make
Yep.
sure, I mean, it's just,
Right.
they really treat us like gold.
Right. Now, we've been hearing about this, Jason Ritchie guy, and these are the kind of guys that you're going to be seeing in Stoughton that could fill a stadium. They could fill the Orpheum. They could fill, Mohegan Sun, and you're going to have the privilege of seeing them up close and personal right here in your own backyard in Stoughton and all the other towns that this show gets seen. But this Jason Ritchie guy, we've been hearing about him, and Roxanne, if you're in the booth there and you can give the folks at home a little taste of Jason Ritchie and what these folks can see at the Blues Festival here in Stoughton.
so much.
How the great Jason Ritchie. How the great Jason Ritchie. And folks,
Amazing.
that is who you were going to see up close and personal at the Blues Festival on January 16th. Now, Vinny, one harmonica player to another. What's your take on that? Break that down a little bit.
Well, I mean, his command of the instrument is like beyond anything that you hear around very often. I mean, there's not many that have that command. Howard Levy has that command.
Right.
Maybe a couple others out there have that sort of command. But his articulation, his phrasing, the way he thinks is really important. If you really understand the instrument, the way he thinks makes it so unique. I mean, he's got his voicing, his own voice is amazing. He's out there. I mean, he does beautiful stuff, man. I mean, that's stuff you could hear from classically trained musicians, quite frankly. Jazz cats that are really out there.
Yeah.
That's what he is, man.
Wow.
He's out there.
Now,
and he's great, and he's perfect. Every note is perfect.
It's like
Yeah.
poetry.
Yeah, that's a
amazing.
very good way of putting it.
Amazing.
And, folks, you heard Vinny Serino a little bit earlier, and you have Jason Rich in there. And now you guys are going to get up there and do a little jamming that night, right?
I hope so. I mean, not for any reason, but it'd be just my honor to play next to the guy. I certainly don't expect to keep up with him, but I certainly would enjoy
Well,
doing that.
I don't know about that. I've heard you play at your best, Vinny, and there aren't too many
true.
between you and Jason. So,
few
Rabbi,
laughs.
why don't you take a little bit of time and just reiterate, talk about this event and how they can get tickets and how they could reach you or how they could, get a hold of the venue, et cetera.
5th Annual ATC Winter Blues Festival, 2016. Saturday evening, January 16th. Tickets are $40 in advance, $45 at the door. People can drop checks off at the synagogue in advance if they would like. We do have a website, www.atorah.org/blues. We'll bring everybody right to the Eventbrite ticket site, and they can purchase tickets online. The show begins at 6:30 in the evening, and we have the 5 acts. For those people who would like to rub elbows with the legends, from 5 to 6:30, we have a little get-together.
That's fun, too.
Private deck
Lot of fun.
get-together. That's $100 a person. It's downstairs, completely private, and they'll be able to get autographs,
Food and
swap
drinks.
stories, listen to them. We did it last year for the first time. It was great.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely great.
awesome. We had about 20 people down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and I tell you, having, been among there doing some filming, again, these are the most approachable, nicest people who would treat you like gold for respecting their music and being there to show your appreciation.
It's funny, just this, Jerry Portnoy, who's, his whole life has been in the business.
Yeah.
Well, last year, he was so taken with how we took care of all of them and the little reception beforehand that we found him, literally. Remember, Vinny?
Yeah.
He was just walking through the synagogue, just talking with people, walked into the kitchen, just
Jerry's a sweet guy.
he
really-
just couldn't believe, A, that we did this in a synagogue, and B, he would just walk around and he just felt the love.
He's just
from
the
us all.
nicest guy. But we just have about enough time for me to thank you, gentlemen, for being on today. I
Thank you
really
again,
appreciate
as
it.
usual.
And we are going to continue to promote this on future shows.
Thank you.
And we're going to do whatever we can to make this an over-the-top success. So,
you.
Vinny, thank you for coming on.
Always a
Rabbi
pleasure.
Jay,
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Folks at home, go out, support your local musicians. You can find Vinny at different venues. So until then, for Vinny and Rabbi and myself, Frank Walsh, tune in and tune on.
Thank you, everybody at home.